not many were paying attention to this, but just 2 weeks ago, a former spy, Israeli spy, was released from prison in the US, okay, and flown back to Israel, okay? Jonathan Pollard. There he is. So this guy, he did 30 years, okay? He was caught selling, government secrets to Israel, and they put him away for 30 years. I think originally he was supposed to serve longer than that, but it was 30 years and then 5 years parole. And the Justice Department, back in November 2020, they decided not to renew his parole, right? So restrictions were lifted, and then he gets flown back to Israel. Now, I want to talk about this because I think it's very interesting how this guy was selling secrets, U.S. Secrets, to Israel, and he gets flown back on a private jet, on a private jet belonging to none other than Las Vegas Sands. Now, Las Vegas Sands, this is a company owned by Sheldon Adelson, right? Who is the top donor to Donald Trump. And also, this guy's a mogul. He owns casinos. He's, one of the richest people in the U.S. and a huge Zionist, right? And this is obviously one of the reasons, him being the top donor to Donald Trump, that Donald Trump did so many favors to Israel. I mean, every U.S. president does favors to Israel, but Donald Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, recognized Jerusalem as the capital, violating international law. He also recognized the occupied Syrian Golan Heights as Israeli. He wanted to do this Jared Kushner peace plan, right? Where they wanted to expand even more. And then Netanyahu came up with his own annexation plan, which they ended up abandoning and going instead with normalization of ties with UAE, with Bahrain, etc. So a lot of favors. Donald Trump did a lot of favors for Israel. And Jonathan Pollard, right? So this guy, he gets flown back on a jet belonging to Sheldon Adelson, which is fucking insane. And when he gets back, right, he's greeted by none other than Netanyahu. Look at that. Wow. Wow. Personally greeted by Netanyahu. By the way, no press was invited, no photographers. This is all taken with mobile phones. I remember reading an article in Haaretz, I think, how no media was allowed. So, which is weird because usually in Israel, occupied Palestine, of course, Netanyahu, the prime minister of whatever, whoever's holding that fake role, is accompanied by a press corps, right? They have their own press office. And so it was requested that no media be there, which is weird because according to their own laws, everything that the prime minister does is supposed to enter into official record, right? So that's kind of weird keeping that out. And Haaretz wrote an article about that, right? So getting a hero's welcome, essentially, you're greeted by the Israeli prime minister. This is a hero's welcome. This guy spied on the U.S. And I want to contrast this with how Donald Trump is going after Julian Assange, right? So Julian Assange, they're charging him with 17 counts under the Espionage Act. Each count carries 10 years. And then 5 years under one count under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which carries 5 years. So it's 175 years in total. And they know that even if they don't get him convicted on all charges, they just need one or two charges, and it's like a life sentence basically because the guy's already over 40. So just 2-3 charges get passed, and you know it'll be more than that. And that's enough. They'll put him away for life, essentially. This guy, he did not steal documents that were in the public interest. Okay? Pollard, right? He didn't steal documents or publish anything in the public interest. And once again, Julian Assange did not steal anything. Chelsea Manning gave him the documents, leaked them to him, and he published them. They were in the public interest. And I point again to the judgment by Judge Baretzer from last week. She basically said, fuck the public interest defense, both under the US and UK law. She's like, yeah, there's no public interest defense here. Wow, great. So in her opinion, basically, the public did not really need to know about the CIA torturing people or to see the collateral murder video or, State Department cables, nothing. This guy over here, he's selling the shit. He was making a personal profit off of it. There's even allegations he sold some stuff to Australia and South Africa. Again, I don't know the veracity of that, but he was selling this information. Okay, so personal profit, and of course, allegiance to Israel, because it's not American. He might be an American citizen originally, but the guy's working for the Mossad, and he was passing along all this information there, and he gets flown out on a private jet belonging to Sheldon Adelson. And again, this was also connected to Assange, which I'll get to in a second. But just to show you over here, this was confirmed by the Associated Press, right? So, yeah, he kissed the ground when he got off the plane. So, they were greeted with Israeli ID cards granting them citizenship. How quaint. And it says Pollard arrived on a private plane provided by American casino magnate Sheldon Adelson, a billionaire supporter of both Netanyahu and President Donald Trump. Wow. Pollard, a civilian intelligence analyst for the U.S. Navy, sold military secrets to Israel while working at the Pentagon in the 1980s. He was arrested in 1985 after trying unsuccessfully to gain asylum at the Israeli embassy in Washington and pleaded guilty. The espionage affair embarrassed Israel and tarnished its relations with the United States for years. Yeah, not really. Not really. It was definitely embarrassing, but, it didn't tarnish relations. Now, again, the arrival was also reported in Israel Hayom, which is a newspaper owned by Adelson. And the photographs of the plane with the Pollards matched the color scheme of aircraft owned by the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the hotel and casino company owned by Adelson. Okay? And they have the tail number and everything. So what I'd like to get to over here as well is the fact that, again, this is connected to Assange in a way, because it turns out UC Global, which is the Spanish company, security company that was hired by Ecuador to provide security in the London embassy. Okay? The head of that company is David Morales, and now he's on trial in Spain. He's being investigated there. David Morales, the head of UC Global, went to a convention hosted by Las Vegas Sands. Okay? The money and his handlers, essentially, right? I think his name was Laval, if I'm not mistaken. But the Grayzone broke that story, and how the U.S. intelligence was running him through Las Vegas Sands. So Sheldon Adelson was basically complicit in helping UC Global spy on Julian Assange inside the Ecuadorian embassy. Which of course, it's not, we have proof of it that, it happened. We have all the videos and everything. And also the Spanish court that is investigating David Morales wants to speak to Morales' handler, who used to work at Las Vegas Sands, and who incidentally also used to work for the CIA. So I just found that extremely weird, right? How Sheldon Adelson is mixed up in all of this. Quite interesting. Quite interesting indeed. You can be damn sure if Julian Assange, God forbid, if he gets extradited and convicted, he will never see the light of day again. So yeah, I mean, you could say this guy still did 30 years. Yeah. But, you know, he's lucky to get out. And it's not just an accident that he's greeted by Netanyahu and Sheldon Adelson is also flying him in. No. And it's not an accident that the Justice Department didn't renew the parole for him. Very interesting. And it's weird, again, how you have the top GOP donor, the top Trump donor, Adelson, giving such special treatment to a traitor. Pollard is an American, worked at the Pentagon, and sold government secrets. I mean, a real traitor, like, you know, you can't even argue that, oh, he published stuff in the interest of the public and exposed government wrongdoing. No. He's just fucking giving off, passing off secrets to the Mossad. A traitor, a double agent. And he gets special treatment. Wow. That's so odd, right? And then Netanyahu, of course, will say, oh, we love Trump and, we love the United States, and Israel and the United States have a special relationship. Yet you give a hero's welcome to a traitor? Okay. So just thought I'd bring you up to date on that, how, you know, if you're an Israeli spy, you get special treatment when you fuck the United States. But if you're doing something adversarial, well, they will chase you for fucking decades. And we saw the emails, the Stratford emails, how their plan is to prosecute Assange from jurisdiction to jurisdiction for like 25 years. They want to just chase him to the ends of the earth. Horrific.